Hi, sorry I'm late. I had a an EBO that took a little longer. I had somebody who needs to come do something. So I'm a little late today. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Nobody texted me, I don't think. Oh, so I have a couple folks saying they're not able to make it tonight. How are you?
I'm doing well. Oh my gosh, it's just me.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just you.
I was like, I was trying to get my audio going before I heard you talking, but I was just like, am I in all the way?
Right.
Hi, Ia.
Hi. I don't
How are
know.
you?
Good. I didn't get a lot of feedback for folks coming this week, and we got the information out late on Facebook. So we're maybe just you and me tonight.
Okay. My sister may be joining randomly. She's on her way to my house. I haven't seen my nephew since he was born. He was born in COVID. I was like, I'm
another COVID baby. I can
Yeah.
tell. I just saw my I have a nephew who was a COVID baby. He is so I had the best time with him. I went down just south of Kankakee to spend some time with him. And it was absolutely lovely. It was over the July, 4th of July weekend. We just went down just to hang out. Oh, okay, Fatimi's joining us. Yeah, it was lovely. I really enjoyed just holding him and taking in the giggles and oh man, because he was actually, his mother threatened to lose him, so I did some work for him. And so two COVID babies that I did work for that I spotted from the Orisha for making sure that they stayed here. And they're both thriving. I'm very grateful to Avatala for all he's done for the babies I've been working on behalf of this year. Very grateful.
Oh my gosh. I've been having my godson over a lot lately, like just having that kid energy and just being, I always said he's been here before. So just being around him and just hearing him talk. He's 6. And that's like,
oh yeah, that's a great age.
Yeah, he's
the son.
Everybody says he's the son I didn't have to birth, but he's mine. So yeah, kid energy, baby energy. I'm excited.
Me too. Yes, it's always fun. And even with the family reunion, Eli family reunion, people come that you don't expect. It happens every time we have it. People who I didn't remember that they would be possibly coming, they all just show up, and it's always just like a celebration of, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. And I'm looking forward to that energy.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Good, very good. Very good. We may be only a few of y'all here today. I designed the class to talk about Dada. And it's an Orisha that not too many people know about. Not too many people are either aware of Dada in worship or in history. So it'll be a little bit of both of those tonight. Okay, somebody just sent this to me. So let's put them in on the invite to these classes. So I'm looking forward to sharing what I know about Dada. It's I have some knowledge of Dada through some people who are very close to me that I love and adore. I have a god sister who is made to Dada. One god sister made to Dada. So I've learned quite a bit from her. I've come to see with the Dada people I know over the years, some things that I feel I can share with you. And with my elders as well, of course, what they know about Dada, I share what their knowledge is of Dada. And that'll be worth sharing with you all too. How's your week been? I know it's been a busy week. We had the ELA meeting yesterday, and that was fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I missed it. Do you guys think that I could get Spark Notes? I'm sorry, I forgot about it.
So what did you ask? I'm sorry.
Spark Notes from the meeting.
Oh, there's on the ELA-OCCON planner page, there's some information on the new schedule, but we can go over some stuff too later.
Thank you.
Mhm, mhm. But as far as you're concerned, nothing is different for you in terms of immediate stuff. Nothing is different.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me make sure. Oh, okay, and Trinika's here. Okay. All right. So shaping into somewhat of a class today. I thought it was gonna just be me and Katie riding it out to the end. So as I mentioned, we're gonna talk about Dada today, and Orisha, that many agree there's not a lot of information available about Dada. I have some things to share, and hopefully if there's any questions you all have, I can answer them for you. And Dada for me, is a continuation of the discussion we began with Shango. Shango, we began with Shango and continued the conversation with Aganju. And so now we are coming to Dada. When I started speaking about Shango, I thought, it will be difficult to talk about Shango without in some way talking about Aganju. And then I thought, well, if I'm talking about Aganju, I might as well go on and cover Dada. And you all will see why in a minute. They are very closely interrelated as Orisha and as historical figures. So, and there's some questions abound around, the relationships that they have. So I'll touch on that too. But overall, one thing that is undisputed is that there is certainly a relationship amongst them, and that relationship is interwoven into not only our worship of them, but our knowledge of how they kind of complement each other. And it's reticent in the rule that they each had of the Oyo Kingdom and what they contributed to the Oyo Kingdom. If you all remember, we talked about what Shango contributed to the Oyo Kingdom, being the warrior that he was. He did a lot of uniting different kingdoms together, conquering many kingdoms and uniting many kingdoms under the Oyo Empire. Ganju brought a sense of stateliness, a sense of a palatial legacy to the Oyo Kingdom, so that when you encounter Oyo during the time of his rule, you encountered a sense of a kingdom that was built in sense of stability, a sense of a steady hand. And then you have Shango's, and then now we have Dada, who we're going to talk about, who had a reign that was prior to Shango's reign, actually. So we'll talk about that. So as usual, I don't have very many pataki about Dada, and the pataki I have, honestly, I'm wondering about whether they're really. I don't know about the source, so I may or may not share the pataki that I have on Dada, of the research that I've done. I don't have any pataki on Dada from any of my elders, but I can share with you some things that are known about Dada that may speak to what patakis are out there that may be available. So there's a couple of songs that we're gonna go. I think I want to go over songs maybe during the Pataki section. And for those of you who have been a part of some of the drums that have happened, you have likely heard the song that we're going to talk about, and try to get a little farther in terms of maybe your ability to sing it. Yeah, that's gonna be fun, right? So we'll see how far we can get with that this week. But the first thing that people refer to when thinking of Dada is Omolo Wori. So I want y'all to try to say that, Omolo Wori. Everyone getting a good sense? I see the mouths moving. All right. Omolo Wori. I don't have to hear you because then it'll be 15 different echo chambers of Omolo Wori. We don't need that to prove a point. So Omolo Wori, child with money braided in his hair. That's one interpretation of what that means. Some interpretations also speak to Dada Omolo Wori as the child born with prosperity, which money represents. Child born with status. And so all of those things speak to someone who is clearly has a connection with birth. Also, crown on earth, Ade Aye. And so you'll see a lot of references to crowns with regard to the worship and knowledge of Dada. And so keep that in mind. One of the main attributes to Dada's worship is that Dada is a protector of unborn children. So, and children who, and I'm going to skip to the last one now, children born with a head full of curly hair or a tuft of curly, defined curly hair in the middle of their hair, particularly in the crown of their head, is considered to be in some ways signatory of Dada, or that's a mark that Dada leaves on many of his or her children, depending on what lineage you come from. So Dada is considered male, and Dada is also considered female. Lukumi primarily worship Dada as male, but interestingly, Dada's Patakis refer to Dada as a female and a female protector of Shango, or nurturer of Shango, or one that supports Shango in some female form. And because of Dada's rule and the way Dada ruled, there is widespread belief that Dada was likely a female ruler of the Oyo kingdom. So you have in succeeding Dada's rule, because of Dada's nature as Dada ruled, Dada is oftentimes referred to as likely being a woman because of the way that Dada used Bayani, and Bayani is literally a reflection, or referred to the crown. I'm sorry, I have a typo there from Lord of Dance, which is Bayan. Dada is not a Lord of Dance, so please excuse the typo. But Bayani is a crown that is oftentimes covered with cowries. And what do cowries traditionally represent in Europe? Does anyone know that? One of the things that cowrie represents.
Is it prosperity?
Prosperity, but something even more directly closely related to prosperity. But yes, it is related to prosperity, but even more direct than that.
Money.
Yes, exactly, money. So the child with money braided in his hair is represented in thrones for Dada as a crown covered with cowries. So whenever you see near Shango another vessel that is literally shrouded with cowries and red and white beads, that is Dada. So when you see that crown represents Dada and the covering of Dada's implements. So this Bayani, this crown, is associated with the way that Dada ruled. Dada ruled very judiciously. Dada ruled, it was like a very much an opposite of the way Shango ruled in Agaju's nature, which is the volcano, right? So, and so you had this other rulership in Oyo Kingdom that was very peaceful, very balanced, very well reasoned, very very even tempered. So you have these interesting kind of juxtaposition between Aganju and Shango with Dada. So Dada, even to now with Bayani, is that crown represents that seasoned, reasoned, even tempered, balanced nature that that Shango needed to draw on during his rule. And it's also speculated that Shango, for Lukumi, Shango is the crown. I mean, Shango in many rituals, in many ways, Shango's place in ritual, in respect, in how we understand Odu, and Shango's role and place in teaching us lessons in Odu deal with having a crown. Whenever Shango speaks, oftentimes Shango speaks of someone needing to have their crown straightened, or Shango speaks of how someone is looking for a title and needs to have one. She speaks of the way someone may need to respect their own head and respect their own head in terms of having capacities to do things in life and be respected for what one's knowledge and role is. The crown being the thing that defines someone. So Shango may oftentimes warn someone of when they're taking on so many different responsibilities, being accountable for so many things and to so many people that no one knows what you're defined at in this world, right? So Shango in certain Odu may be the Orisha, may call your attention to needing to define your lane in life so that your crown is clearly held high and defined in connection to some way that you're defined in the way that you walk and connect with people in the world. And so I say all that to say that Dada's ownership of the crown is said to have been something that Dada, in a way, bequeathed to Shango. So, so when Dada gave up rulership of Oyo and passed that rulership, and well, actually, there's several stories that say that Shango actually usurped the rulership from his sibling in order to rule in Oyo. But even as that was done, as that legacy was passed from Dada to Shango, it is said that Shango also made sure that Dada still had a crown because of Dada's ability to use that crown so wisely. So the connection between the two of them and this idea of what a crown represents is very important and very integral. Because Dada is in many ways that reasoned, balanced aspect of what Shango can be connected or associated with, that coolness. So, so thinking about Dada in this way, you see, even with people who have Shango or have a special relationship with Shango, Dada oftentimes plays a role in supporting their relationship with Shango. And there's also a belief that Dada deals with the development of and protection of unborn children and the development of children to be able to develop well and in the womb so that when they come out, they can actually come into the world able to be able to take on responsibilities with cool heads, well reasoned, all of that, so that they have the tools to do that in life. Dada is associated with that ability to give those tools from birth to anyone in life, as Dada was considered from very young, according to history, to have always had this reasoned, judicious, and even tempered nature that stayed with Dada throughout the years, so that when Dada ruled, it was just assumed that Dada would rule that way. So Dada protects children so that they can have the mental capacity to have those qualities and nature. So that's why some Ilays and some Lukumi lineages associate Dada literally with the brain, because of that, the association of Dada's capacity to use their, and I'll say their intelligence so well, and that being associated with ability to use your head well. So it's so interesting that that is a part to me of both that lineage, because Dada is in some lineages, excuse me, Michael, bring it down a notch, thank you. Dada is in some lineages believed to be the older sister of Shango. In other lineages, as I mentioned, the father of the older brother of Shango. But in either lineage, Dada is associated with nurturing Shango, raising Shango, giving Shango opportunities to grow up with what Shango needed. So Shango had this older sibling that was responsible for supporting Shango's ability to grow into a great king. And so Dada has that role to play, regardless of however we look at the lineage, as a male Orisha or as a female Orisha. But it's so interesting because Lukumi deal with both, because Lukumi call Dada with the other male Orisha whenever we're in prayer, wherever we're in ritual, and whenever we're in song, we include Dada. Even before we call Shango in worship, we'll call Dada in worship. So we acknowledge Dada as senior, but we acknowledge Dada as male, although the qualities that Dada is considered to have are considered to be feminine qualities. So there's an interesting thing there. So I don't want to be the one to solve the mystery or solve the riddle on it. I'm just going to share with you that that's part of the complexity of Dada, and actually the enigmatic quality of Dada too. So that's a lot to take in, but some things to think about with Dada. And so before we move forward with how to work with Dada, do you guys have any questions about what I've said so far? I know, Amber, you joined late, and Trinika, you joined a little late. Do you guys have any questions so far about what I've shared in terms of Dada?
I don't have any questions. Just thinking and reflecting on some of the stuff you said.
Okay. So this is a representation rather of a crown or a covering for Dada's ritual implements. Always very intricate, always actually very beautiful and very intricate. That's whenever I see Dada crowns or Dada in homes of elders, I'm always struck by how really beautiful and intricate Dada's implements are. And if you notice, some of these beads are trade beads with red and white trade beads, like right here, all of these beads in this. And so in a sense, you see this kind of attempt at balance, even in the design of the crown for Dada. You see the red and the white together, the cool and the hot together. You see the balance of how you see 4 or 2 of the white, 4 and 2 of the red. This acknowledgement, oh, sorry, it's another one, but this acknowledgement of this well-balanced, well-tempered nature with Dada, always really beautiful. So how do we work with Dada? You know, Dada, you know, like I said, many of the stories speak of Dada literally being conquered by his or her younger brother. That the transition, even though it was not a chosen transition, it was one that Dada chose to accept. And I think in the end, Shango, because of the relationship they have with those who are children of Dada and Shango, there's a very intimate relationship between the children of Shango and Dada, and even Aganju, and also with Oshun too, to some extent. But Dada did not strike back at Shango for what Shango did, given those stories. There was no history of Dada having a long, peaceful rule, because by all accounts, the rulership of Dada was peaceful and it lasted for many, many years, as opposed to Shango's rule, which was only for, I believe it was 7 years total. And many of the attributes that are attributed to Shango's rule likely by many accounts happened during Dada's rule. The playing of sacred drums in the palace, the ways we understand ritual and pomp and circumstance in the palace likely started with Dada's rule, but has been wholly attributed to Shango's rule. And but even with that, Shango acknowledges through Odu and through the way that he deals with his children and with Dada's children that the respect that Dada earned will be for infinity, which is why Dada is deified as an Orisha and has a particular place in the pantheon of Orisha for being one who has the capacity to cool the hot energy of Shango and make sure that the crown that we all associate with Shango is one that that reflects proper titleship, proper proper knowledge, knowledge that supports growth and well-being rather than knowledge that promotes greed, avarice, war, you know, all of those things. I think honestly, Dada's tempered connection with Shango likely has given Shango the capacity to rule with respect as a deity and to be respected as a deity. I think Dada has a lot to do with that happening, given what we know in history of Shango's rule. Using flexible intelligence and thinking, because Dada is so associated with, as I say, with the brain, with proper use of our brains, proper uses of our intelligence. You know, if we're, you know, and I've been actually thinking a lot about flexible thinking and reasoning lately. You know, when we're dealing with folks who are dealing with job issues, dealing with you know, even with the world we're in, all this stuff around COVID, how we're going to navigate moving forward. How are we do we wear masks? Do we not wear masks? How do we deal with in gatherings? How do we deal with in working with you know, our jobs, our personal responsibilities? All of these questions come up when it comes to this question of flexible thinking and knowing that we aren't going to have just one way we're going to have to solve a problem, that we're not going to have just one way that we're going to have to engage in a situation. And I think Dada teaches a lot about flexible thinking and flexible reasoning and intelligence, and knowing that you're going to have to be willing to take in the data you need to in a moment, survey what's happening, what's not happening, and adapt to that situation. And that's why oftentimes, even though, you know, with our Elay, we had a wonderful time this past weekend, and but I still kept my mask with me. I still kept it nearby. Either I had it in a coat pocket. If I needed to pivot, I was ready. Because I think it's always important to, when thinking about how to work with the energy of Dada and alignment with Dada, is how do we not get caught in rigid thinking and feeling about a thing that can lead us to a dead end or a roadblock, or lead us to something that doesn't support our ability to move forward in a way that gives us more options than less. I think that's an important lesson. Any questions so far, insights or reflections anyone wants to share? I really love the last time we met, because I wasn't the only one talking the whole time. But I know we're dealing with an Orisha that you all don't know that well, but I appreciate any input and connection you guys are making to anything you were talking about. Yes, Makeba?
So I wanted to know, because I heard you say that Shango has a relationship with the children of Dada. So that answered my question of, does Dada have children? But I wanted to know, like, would you be crowned Dada, or would that be with Shango, like how Oba comes down with Oshun?
Good question. In the lineage that I'm with, the person is initiated to Shango with Dada. So Shango is definitely in the mix with Dada for us. And I don't know very many lineages that crown Dada directly, but even know how to crown Dada at all, because it's like I say, not very many people get crowned. Not many people get initiated to Dada. We have people in our Elay who are working towards that and have been crowned to Dada. So, but it's a very rare instance that happens. Very rare. But I can tell you that all of the children of Dada that I have encountered, and like I say, I have a god nephew and I have a god sister and others who are in some way connected to Dada. Always people who see the reasoning in things and see the power and potential for change in things, but not in a way to overturn the system, but in a way to help the system continue in its way, but also in a way to challenge especially unethical behavior. They're very strong ethicists, very strong ethicists, and really cling to that knowledge of that, of how things should be, but not in a way that, like I said, not in a way that's inflexible, but in a way that really defines their connections and relationships to things and matters that I've encountered with them. So, so yeah, interesting and good question. Any other questions or insights anyone wants to share?
I have another question that's kind of off topic. When these get recorded, do they get saved somewhere? And do we have access to that?
Yes, the recordings are saved with Southside Liberation. I haven't talked to the owner about just giving them to people so that they can just have them. I don't know, and I know he's saving them as archival material, and so on occasion I have, for those who have missed class and let me know, I have let people view some of the videos, but I've been very kind of careful not to make it a thing where I just kind of give them away to people, especially because the class really is for free already. You know what I mean? Even though they are fundraising and trying to do things for the center. So I've been very careful about not making that a known thing where I could just kind of give them to people and people can pass them to other people or anything like that, because I don't want to go there without my brother giving me some direction on whether or not that's even allowable, you know, from what his vision for all of this is. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, I do have the recordings. I do know where they're kept, and I do know how to access them. But I've been I've been keeping them close because I haven't had that discussion with him yet about that. And I would rather do so before I just kind of make them openly available to everybody. That answers your question, McCabe?
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand.
Yeah, thank you. All righty. And that was on topic because it's part of this class, even though it's not on the topic of the Orisha. Okay, so also I would say with Dada, there's always, because of Dada's relationship with the unborn, and Dada's connection with being considered a very compassionate ruler while Dada lived on Earth. I always like to make the connection of being compassionate and to others, and especially with children, because of Dada's special relationship with children. I think showing compassion in support of children is definitely a way to seek and be a part of inner alignment with this Orisha. Children in particular, and it was said actually during Dada's rule, historically, that Dada had a very special relationship with children, even as a king, queen of Oyo Kingdom. And I honestly wonder, and I don't have any documented evidence of this or historical evidence of this, and I can do some research to find out. But Shango also had a very special relationship with children. Particularly, we know with the Ibeji, because of what he did for Ibeji worship. Shango is associated with popularizing and supporting worship of Ibeji when they were under threat by those who thought they were so mysterious that they should not be protected. But Shango, under his rulership, made sure that no children who were born as twins would ever come under any scrutiny or threat of danger. And so that's another interesting connection that the two Orishas have, that I often wonder if Shango and his connection with children is somehow related to Dada and his rulership and his divine connection with children. So to the point that when he is deified, he is considered the protector of unborn children and worshiped as the protector of unborn children. So sharing compassion with children, and I'm thinking also of Shango. He was Shango's older sibling. We know of Shango's tempestuous nature, and I wonder if if Dada had to show that compassion towards Shango so that he can, even despite his nature, still be shaped into someone who could actually be a great ruler. So showing compassion towards children, we don't know what those children's lives may lead to. That compassion we show for a child could lead to that child having a greater capacity to show compassion for others when they're in positions of leadership, and showing reason and showing temperament that is worthy of respect when they have the opportunity to share that with someone. So when I think of these historical figures deified as Orisha, and how they create legacies, how, when we work with children and we work with other people, wherever we are in this tradition, how we create legacies by the nature that we bring to this practice and by the nature that we bring to the worship of these Orisha. So I think it's very much connected to, I make the connections because because of my knowledge, my little knowledge that I have of these Orisha. But to me, the connections are very clear, and definitely when we talk about inner alignment and working with them, having that compassion definitely does go a long way. And actually, I'm gonna put Antronika on the spot, because when I think of somebody who has a connection to this idea of compassion for children, I think of our sister Antronika. So I want to hear from you what you think about that idea, Antronika. I'm gonna pick on you for a minute, if you don't mind.
Okay. Jaden, get her stop before
See?
she have a fit again.
See what I'm saying?
Please. All right, put it on her feet because she. Okay.
See what I'm saying? What do you think about that idea of children and compassion, and how that supports and shapes a child's life?
Well, I mean, as far as like development, children are highly sensitive when they're younger. All their thoughts and actions come from us. So the way in which we interact with them is eventually how they'll interact with the world around them and themselves. So, you know, yes, apologizing to children when you're wrong, listening to them and their stories that we feel are extremely dramatic. Yeah, she don't do that, but just put it back on. I don't know. I just love kids. I mean, I used to want to be a pediatrician before I became a teacher, but to me, children are everything. If we're saying that, you know, when children are born, those are our ancestors, sometimes they're older than us. So we all have something to teach each other here. And we all have to take care of each other, because eventually they'll be the doctors, they'll be the nurses, the lawyers, the activists, the politicians. And if we want, you know, people who rule in a way that is purely like negative and selfish, then don't have compassion for children. But if we want a world that is going to be better, where there's a lot of love, children remind me of joy, laughter, all the things that we forget as we become adults. And they're here to remind us constantly. It's a cycle of reminding us of having that joy, knowing that we're children ourselves in many ways too. When we come into this religion, we're all children, whether we're 40, 50 years old. So we all need compassion in everything that we do. And that doesn't mean like don't hold them accountable and don't hold ourselves accountable. It just means like we all come from different places. You know, I have a nephew who is highly sensitive. He cries about everything. If he don't get a cookie, tears are rolling. But I let him have his moment. And then we talk about the idea of like, sometimes the answer is going to be yes, and sometimes it's going to be no. And you have to learn how to deal with that, because you're not going to get everything that you want, but you need to know how to handle yourself in those type of situations. I don't know. Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, it was really great. Thank you, Antronika. That was really great. You brought up so many wonderful points about why compassion to children is so important, and I think illuminated many ideas around how that deals with inner alignment with this Orisha in particular. Talking about that, you know, one day they may be the very people who, like Shango grew up to be a great ruler of Oyo. Like we may have these same children that we need to show compassion to. And Yemanja, actually, I will say, Antronika, Yemanja spoke about that this past weekend at the lake for her, when she came and visited with us and spoke with us. What you just spoke to is something that she talked about. And she talked about compassion towards children being manifest in different ways. One, in terms of how we treat each other and how children witness how we treat each other and how we treat them. And one thing she mentioned in particular was about yelling. And it's particularly yelling at children without any ability to listen or any ability to be willing to do more than just, basically make them feel like they owe us something all the time, through fear.
Now, now I'm not perfect with that, so
Well,
I
yeah,
still got a little hot
you're
head.
Southern Belle, figuring that out. But
But I
but
mean, I apologize.
yeah, but the thing is, right? That's what I'm saying. You talked about if I'm having a bad day, and I'm as a mother, I'm a mother of 4 children, right? If I'm having a bad day and I'm having a hard time balancing my hard day with my needs and their needs, then I have to be clear and use my flexible thinking and intelligence so that I don't make this one mistake that I can avoid if I just remember. I know where I am, I know what I'm going through. I don't need to make that my problem their problem. I can recognize by owning what my feelings are. And I do, I get better at it. Actually, I think I'm getting much better at this over the years. Saying, you know what, this is where I am right now. This is what my needs are right now. And this is what I'm asking. And I'm really, really trying to hold it together right now. Sometimes we have to do that. And sometimes it's really hard to do that. But the Orishas do pay attention to those things, because Yemayab made it very clear this weekend that she pays attention to all of that. They hear that, especially those of us who are priests with Orishas literally sacred and consecrated within our homes, and those of us who have warriors who are not initiated in our homes. They hear and understand all of those experiences that we have with our children. And it's not for us to feel blame, I think. It's not for us to feel guilt, but to recognize, oh, hey, Edith is joining us, hey. But to recognize when we are in those moments, to have the consciousness that Dada oftentimes is referred to as being a part of, right? That consciousness that gives us the capacity to make better decisions in the future. That's what I think one of the slaving graces of inner alignment with Orisha is, having the capacity to recognize where we are, who we are, and what we are in the moment, and know that through a capacity to change, grow, evolve, and forgive ourselves, that we have capacity to grow into something even greater for our future. And I think that's one of the real divine lessons of the relationship between Dada and Shango, is that they were able to demonstrate in their relationship historically, and also in their relationship as Orisha, which is a continuity of that relationship, how that symbiosis of how that works together, of Dada showing even now, even with what happened in their historical relationship, that there's still something that I can still show compassion for my little brother, and I can still hold up this idea of what a crown means. And Shango giving Dada a crown that's adorned so beautifully shows Shango's respect for Dada in that role of being the teacher and the one that likely showed Shango compassion even when it was difficult. So there was a lot wrapped in what you just said, Antonika, and I just wanted to raise that. Hello to those of you joining us late. We are having a discussion of Dada tonight. Dada is this historical figure, as I mentioned, who happened to also be a ruler in the Oyo Kingdom. Dada's rulership was very long, and brought a lot of stability and a lot of growth and stability to the Kingdom of Oyo. She preceded rulership to Shango. and is, as I mentioned at the very beginning, this is kind of like a continuation of a trilogy of discussions of 3 Orisha in inner alignment. We started with Shango, we continued with Aganju, and now we're talking about Dada, and each of them brought different things to their rulership in the kingdom of Oyo, which we discussed. And so Dada's contribution was really stability, and making decisions based on what well-reasoned thinking, intelligence, and great judicial discernment, compassion. And so Dada is the protector of unborn children. And I was discussing, and we were talking about the connections between those items and how we work with Dada specifically. So Antonika gave a really beautiful, I thought, kind of reflection on what it means to show compassion to children, and how that, and I reflected on how that is really connected to what our work with Dada, in our alignment with Dada would be felt and meaning is in showing that compassion to children, because there are implications for that. For Yoruba people, it's all about continuity. It's all about continuity of culture, of people, of community, of progeny, right? So how we think about what compassion to a child today reflects in terms of tomorrow, in terms of their tomorrow, means that our tomorrow depends on their tomorrow being bright. So if we show compassion to them today, that brightens their tomorrow, which in turn supports our tomorrow. So even now, like my son was belly aching about Social Security that he's paying out of his little sad little check he got from Culver's, right? I'm like, well, that's my continuity right there. You know, so everything's connected. Everything's connected. So with responsibility to lead, I kept this actually from even with my discussion of Shango. I think with Dada, leading with integrity. That's inner alignment 101. I think honestly with Dada is leading with integrity. Dada teaches above all else, protect children and to use your head wisely so that you can wear a crown that provides you with prosperity, that provides you with prosperity in many forms. But you know, we focus on money because cowrie is oftentimes associated with money. But the idea is that if we use our heads wisely, with balance, with compassion, with discernment, with coolness, that we can be well rewarded and well regarded in life, and live with high integrity. So those are some of the ways we, I think, work with inner alignment with Dada. And I wanted to give anyone who's coming in new to our discussion a chance to ask any questions if you have any, or share any thoughts about anything that's listed here or raised here. Welcome to those of you who haven't seen in a while. It's been a minute. It's good to see everybody's faces who want to show their faces. I just saw Edith's face, so that's okay. We just saw each other's faces a few minutes ago. But I just wanted to give y'all a chance to talk and reflect some more and share whatever thoughts you have. Hi, Amber. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good to see your face in the place too.
I know it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's okay. It's never a long time because we always can find each other. Would you like to share a thought? Any thoughts or anything right now? You're on mute, my love.
Not at the moment.
Okay. You're also someone who works with, well, you work in administration, but you have worked with children. do you have anything to add to what was shared by Antonika? You're on mute again, love.
I said I was saying that I think Antonika did an excellent job of just like, I guess, just sharing and the connection between working with children like on a daily basis and things to think about and how we interact with them.
Mhm.
I think I have really anything else to add just because of she did such a good job of sharing.
Yeah, she did. She did. We have several. We have mothers here. We have teachers. We have educators here. We got a lot of wisdom here. It's not just. I definitely don't reside with me. We have children. We have people who are sons and daughters. I mean, we have all kinds of folks here, right? So anyone who wants to share, please feel free to share.
My nephew just got here, so if you see me like giggling and doing all of this,
I see that.
I'll look down.
Yeah.
He heard the
Oh,
so I
sweet.
guess that's just really fitting to the conversation of actually having a baby here.
Yeah.
So yeah, just my spirit is lighting up. And I worked with kids for 10 years. That was like my first job. And just kind of self-reflecting on how I interacted with kids. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. But just
You for good reason.
yeah. Even like when I talk to my godson, just giving him the space and not saying not necessarily saying you're wrong, but like I feel like I'm letting children around me explore more instead of being directive, kind of like how I was raised. So kind of breaking out of that and just being more expansive and being flexibly intelligent. That really registered with me, especially this week from the drumming and the prayer service from last week to now. Like I felt so light and expanded. I was like, this was my first time experiencing this and I need it. I gotta have it. And just really slowing down, like my anxiety, my mind racing, all of that has just dissipated and being able to navigate through my
job. That's beautiful.
Yes. So, I mean, she was quick with it. She was like, okay. So yeah, that I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just right now because you just woke up.
You're sharing appreciation. That's what I hear. I hear appreciation. Oh my goodness!
He's looking at me.
Hello, family. He's like, I'm looking at you. That's okay. We can take you in. He's like,
this is my sister Mika.
Hi, Mika. How are you? Hello, my love. Good. We're talking about children, and so it was so interesting that that you're here and that you're here with your child because we were just talking.
I was just telling Katie how I heard you saying have more compassion for children, and I literally just told myself the same thing. Like I need to be more patient with my baby.
That's beautiful. Yep. Because we're raising, some folks say we're raising kings and queens. People like to say that, but it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to engage in it as an active practice, right? How do you engage in raising kings and queens as an active practice? And that's another question, I think, in terms of an alignment with Dada and looking at the relationship with Shango and children. How do you raise, she raised a king. He or she raised a king. How do we do that? Even if you're not a parent, even if you're just someone in the community who has connections with children, how do we raise children who see their capacity to literally have rulership over their own lives, first of all, because that's something for particularly our children of color should have some connection and idea about, that we can actually have control over our own lives, right? And be well reasoned in that control, and be judicious in that control, and be balanced in that personal control. And as a mother, that's something I ask myself a lot. Raising 3 sons and 1 daughter. How do I raise children who can literally have some sense that they have control over their own lives, and if they do become leaders, become compassionate leaders in other people's lives? And it's there's a lot that's riding against that for our children. And so I think this question of inner alignment with Dada and this question of working with children is a pretty important and prominent one. And so asking, how do we raise kings and queens? How do we do that? And even those of us who are young people, we have some young people tonight, right? How do you all are in that space where you are defining in self-definition mode right now, right? Some are in self-definition mode. How are we defining ourselves for ourselves and moving forward in our lives? Boy, I often say, if I were in my 20s, my early 20s now, if I knew then what I know now. Come on, y'all. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all in y'all 30s, some of y'all in y'all 40s. I'm not going to call out no 50s folks. I'm just going to call myself out. That's all. But we all know, if we knew now, knew then what we know now, boy, oh boy, oh boy, what would our lives be like? So, showing compassion for you all is the legacy that we can give you based on lessons we've learned that we share with you, so that you can, in some ways, evolve and grow in a way that supports your flexible thinking, your ability to be balanced, well-reasoned, judicious, and even tempered. So that's how we pass it on, right? We pass it on literally through how we are able to do more for others, even if we weren't able to do that for ourselves in the time that we had in that moment to be that age, right? We learn and we grow and we pass that learning and growth on to whomever else we come in contact with,
Yeah, when you say that, it just makes me think by showing compassion to children, we're also showing compassion to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about that because sometimes what I see with children, they're responding to a world that we created in terms of their reactions and their thoughts and their ideas. And we may look at how they behave sometimes and not, but we don't also realize the connection that we reaction to the world that they're living in is largely we're responsible for it, if not fully. So it just made me think that by showing compassion to children, we're also showing compassion to ourselves, because in a lot of ways they're responding to a world that we had responsibility in creating.
That's something to marinate on, isn't it? And that's very, 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 very true. It's one of those things like, my goodness, that was very, very, very good insight. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. We give children so many directives on how to live in a world where there's so much they have to compromise, and who created the compromise that they have to live in many ways, right? So so we have to, and so showing that compassion gives us a chance to start again too, right? And to kind of give ourselves a second, I won't say it's quite a do-over, but it gives us a chance to hopefully make our lives better in softening whatever effects of the lives that we created for them, so that we can have better lives. Because at some point we're going to depend on them, same as they're depending on us. So all very, very good insights. Very good insights. I want to give anyone else who'd like to share. I know we have Miss Lucille, who is Edith, who also, it looks like she was doing some other stuff too. So I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but I want to give everyone a chance to share and to reflect on this question, because children are a part of our lives, all of our lives in one way or another, right? So I want to give us all a chance to reflect and consider what that may mean.
Hi, I'm in a restaurant. I actually just got by my neighborhood from from your house.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I got to hear just a little bit from about the class. Um, but yeah, I've worked with children. I was actually reflecting this today. I've worked with children even when I myself was a child. When I was probably like in probably like seventh grade. I used to volunteer during recess to like take care of the kindergarteners. And then when I was in high school, I babysat, and now I work with youth. So I love children. I think that as adults, we can learn a lot from them. And yeah, I love kids. I love being around them. I love learning from them. They energize me and suck my energy all at the same time. But yeah, I really love children. So I'm hoping I could get the recording for the class. I can listen to it. But yeah, thank you. And I'm Edith. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Edith.
All right. I was going to speak on it if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I want to make sure we can hear because there's a lot of noise in the background.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna take out the Bluetooth.
And maybe this will be a little bit better. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you distinct from the music. That's helpful. Thank you.
Wait, what'd you say?
I can hear your voice more rather than it's not muffled by the music so much now.
Okay, cool. So I was just gonna say that I've actually been in a position of mentorship since I was like 17. And earlier today, actually, I was just having this conversation about how just being around elders naturally, like the younger folks or the younger energy, like kind of melds and contends with that as a lead. And so I can say, like, in my personal experience, just being around people who like see the world with like possibility has been very beneficial to me, who see the world like in the sense of like obtaining wisdom instead of obtaining like material gain has been very beneficial to me as well. And I feel like, and it's rubbed off of the possibilities that I have to be a mentor as well, like to youth, because I feel like I know I'm saying feel a lot. Okay.
Go for it. You're fine. You're fine.
But I feel like I am so sorry. I feel like the way that my mentors have like opened me up to actually seeing the world as possibilities rather than like, if you do this then this what happened. It helps me to like tell my youth, like, look, I'm not going to tell you the answer, but at the end of the day, this is what you see before you. When I've been in a situation similar to that, this is how I handled it. And this is what I think that you should be able to do. Because like that's really how you work the muscle of intuition. And I feel like the society has taken that away from so many like people in their youth, that when it's time for them to be like elders, or when they're in positions of mentorship, both consciously and unconsciously, we're passing on the wound instead of like the cool collectedness. And so what you were saying about how do you raise a king, and like I really admire that as a concept, because the more that I dive into like ancestor veneration and like really working on what is it that I'm meant to perfect in this lifetime from my lineage, I like mentorship becomes more and more important to me, of like just having an example to look up to as to what to do instead of theories to bounce around in my head about. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. That was really beautiful. I really appreciate everything you said. I really do. All right, Miss
Thank
Lynette.
you. Yeah, oh my God. I've been telling my mentors I love you, like all day today, literally. I appreciate y'all so much. Like, this is why when I have conversations with you sometimes, and I'm just like, thank you for really sitting here and preserving like and ancient art that allows me to connect to myself and to my ancestors and like really be deified within a lineage. It's just the overwhelming gratitude in my heart for being willing to have such upstanding character and always be striving towards that, because it's literally so hard, but you're so willing, and that's so beautiful because it inspires me to make it possible, to inspire other people to make it possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to give Lynette an opportunity. She'd like to say something.
You're talking to me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Unless you'd prefer me to call you Unruly.
You know, I think that's an interesting question for me lately. I don't know. I think I have to think about that more.
Okay.
But that's a separate thing. I think, you know, I'm sitting here trying to think about that. I have a 12-year-old, and I had my 12-year-old when I was 20, and I would tell them when they were little that, you know, that they were a soul that had returned back to me, that like in all the lifetimes we'd been friends, and maybe sometimes they were my mother and sometimes I was their brother, and we've just had all these different configurations of relationships, and this was our configuration for this lifetime. And I think about that a lot because, you know, as they're getting older, and we're having more conversations, and I'm being more like, you know, here's sort of what I was thinking about when I was your age, or here's some things that I struggled with, or that's not as bad as you think it is. It's really making me think about what it means to experience something or heal from something. And, you know, I think a lot of times, especially right now, it can feel like you have to say something to a broad audience for it to really matter. Like you're supposed to have a platform and you're supposed to, you know, speak to the masses, and like everyone has to be, everyone has to amplify their voice in like a really large way. But I often think about how talking to them and like having a conversation feels the same to me, you know, like it feels like I am changing the whole course of the future, but also really healing all my past selves in that act. Like it is very like, it's very personal for me that like, you know, that to me, the whole universe is contained in this person right now, you know, like all the possibilities are in this one person that I'm talking to. And if I didn't talk to anyone else, like my life is fine. You know what I mean? Like I did what I was supposed to do. And I really lean on that a lot. And I think it's hard to explain to a young person that amount of like, you know, like no one can ever say that I didn't live my life, or like I didn't do something, because like if all I ever do is be your mother, like that is like enough. Like if all I ever am is in relationship with you, that's enough for me. And I think that, and the more I lean into that, the more I'm like, wow, is that how my mom felt about me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, did it hit her that hard? And that just that level of like, you really care. And we are in this really deep relationship, and like, I really care for you, has really helped. I think both of us, like I watch them become more free and press into their art, and I do the same. So today I dropped them off at the ceramic studio. And when I was leaving, I said, I'm going to be at my studio. It's up the road. I'm like, if anything really goes down, you know, to come up the road. And it really made me feel like, okay, you know, like there is, you know, you can really root yourself and you can really grow tall when you love and you allow yourself to be loved. And that's a very real love to experience and to share. And I think we kind of, you know, it doesn't really, I think there are a lot of different types of love that can overshadow it, or it can become much more about like controlling or like determining and not being just in relationship back and forth. And so I think the formulation that like we are souls that have had a lot of different iterations has helped with that. So I don't know what all of that means, but that's what I felt like sharing.
That was beautiful. And I think you just touched on something really powerful in terms of, you know, the counter and in thinking about Dada and Dada's role in Shango's life. Dada did become ruler, but Dada's impact on Shango extended Dada's legacy because of Shango's legacy was so great. So Dada's impact on one person's life impacted her capacity to reach literally countless numbers of people, even to this day, around the world. So I think you hit the nail on the head.
Wow, thank you.
All y'all are on point today. All y'all point. I'm loving this. That's why I feel like, you know, I want this to really be a share of exchange, because that's how we really, I mean, the information is one piece, but I think the information we share and how we make meaning of it, I think is even more important. So I want to make sure I include that as much as I humanly can in what we do for these classes. So I haven't heard from Miss Joey yet. I don't know if she's waiting to be introduced or asked, but I haven't heard from Miss Joey yet. Would you like to say something?
I was really just listening, you know, but, you know, being a mother of 32, 26, 25, and 17, and being 52. So I know you didn't want to say that 50, but I'm in the 50 club.
I just called myself out, you know, I don't call nobody else out, you know. That's a special club, you know.
Yes, it is. Very few don't get there. So I guess just in listening to everybody else, you know, and thinking about my own experience and being a DCFS worker and being a therapist, you know, I can see kids and I can see the parents that have lost these kids and the disconnect in between. I can see myself, I can see my 17-year-old and all the way up to my 32-year-old. And I can see my missteps, my mom's missteps. And I get it. And I get it. And I do think each generation is different. Every generation is different. You know, and what I was just telling the client is, you know, each generation is different, but the human spirit is always going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? So people on the block may change, but the people on the block don't change. They still the same people. They just different. And the block has changed a little bit, if that makes any sense. You know, and I think the biggest thing that I can contribute to this conversation is I concur. If I had to do it all over, I think I would forgive. I would really forgive, because as we're growing up, we hold on to so much hurt, and it's usually a lot of things that come from our perspective of things, you know, how our parents have raised us. So then we come up with all these expectations, and once those expectations are not met, then we feel let down, and then down we going into judging, and you know, now we're looking at our parents sideways like, what was this bitch thinking? You know what I'm saying? So and there was never this moment of compassion that, you know, my mother was 18, well, 17 going into 18, tricked my dad into marrying her because she was pregnant, and she did the best that she knew how to do. Period. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, you know, but she had the wherewithal to let my grandmother, you know, raise me. So to forgive her for just being human and doing the very best she knew how to do, and not allow those hurt feelings that I had from my mom to spill over into how I start raising my kids. But I'm gonna tell you, working with other people, kids and their problems really helped me deal with some of my issues a little bit differently. But if I had to go back to that younger self, I think I would start with forgiveness, because we don't understand how when we hold on to the expectations, the what ifs and what shoulda and the coulda wouldas, how we then imprint that upon our children. And I think one of my biggest accomplishments with my children was, I have to say, when I was 30 years old, I'll never forget the day I had just bought my first home, sitting my children down, because I realized they know me as mama, but they don't know me as Joey Johnson. And I think they deserve to know, you know, there's a whole nother side to me, and I'm human and I got human feelings. And, I don't have to always be right. I'm doing the very best that I know to do, and I apologize to each one of my kids. Even now, my kids say, well, you treat little Chris differently. I did affirmations in his room. Chris is smart. Chris is, mom and dad loves Chris, and he thinks it's childish, but I see how it's really brightened him up. Just those affirmations, me stepping outside of my old way of thinking to do something new for him. Also, Wayne Dyer's book didn't help. I mean, didn't hurt me to adapt some of that. So I really don't have much to say. I just think that I really like what you had to say, yeah, about the 20-year-old self, and thinking about our young kids today. We have to talk to them a little bit different, and we do have to. I always say to my clients, I'm just a seed planter. That's all I do. And that's all I can do sometime. I know what my role is. If you let me in to help do a little bit more, I will. But if you don't, then I'm here to plant seeds. And I'm okay with that. That's what I'm here for. So I digress.
Thank you, Joey.
Yeah, can I speak really quickly?
Sure.
So I just wanted to say thank you, Joey, for sharing that, because like you said, you are a seed planter and you just planted a seed in me that like I wanted to share. How you were speaking about how like your mother did the very best she could, that made me think about having the compassion for kids. Our parents are still someone else's children. So it's like they are still children in certain ways and in certain aspects. So it's like we, as their children, even stepping outside of that relationship, we're still human to human. So we still have to have that human relationship of having compassion for our parents, because they are still children and they are still learning. And you also brought up some other things to me, like I was thinking about, because I recently just lost my mother. So like those what ifs and those shoulda, coulda, wouldas, it's a lot of things that I don't have the chance to like have that conversation with her about, like in the flesh. So it's like, it's really emphasizing that having compassion and learning to see the grace and the effort that our parents do have, because like even like you said, your mother was 18. My mother was also 18 when she had her first child. So it's
Me
just
too.
like still being a child, having to turn around and raise a child, that like a lot of people, unless you're going through that, you don't know what that's like. So it's like, just to be able to give space and see the effort of like, I really don't know what I'm doing, but these are the tools that I have that are accessible to me. I'm gonna do the best with what I have. And like you said, she turned to her mother. My mother did the same thing. That's a
Yep.
tool that y'all had. So it's like, at least you did that. You turned to somebody who knew who knew what it is like to be a mother. So who, like, if it's things that you didn't know or it's things that you're still learning, you have that elder in the backup to like, it's kind of like a safety net almost. So I just wanted to share that and say thank you, Joey, for sharing that.
My pleasure. And I remember you. You that little cutie pie that was at the Root Gallery.
Oh, wait, where was I?
The Root Gallery. I think we were making Florida water or something.
Yes, I remember that. Fatumbi was there also. We both were there.
Yeah.
Was that before you cut your locks or after?
It was before. It was well before you
Before I
cut your
cut
locks.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to hijack my godmother. Yeah, I remember y'all.
Done.
I'm glad to see you guys. I'm glad you're here.
Good to see you as well.
Yes, many blessings.
Sweet. That's sweet. That's sweet. That's so sweet. I think I'm feeling so much. I'm feeling really happy. I'm feeling really full. I'm feeling really contemplative. I'm feeling really blessed by all of what you all have brought to this conversation. Honestly, this was really, really beautiful. Who would have thought such an enigmatic, hardly nobody know about Orisha could bring this type of conversation to all of us? Who would have thought, you know?
It's so interesting because like I'm starting to understand morals as like a state in like spiritual evolution where you like really start to understand like the right and wrong of the world and like how to really move as a person, and how like a lot of people don't I feel like a lot of people don't really get to that status because they don't allow elders to like mentor them or like to move in mentorship. Because like that's all that good character and morals really is somebody showing you how to move in the world. So I feel like that really speaks to the power of Dada, like as an entity that like I don't have to be named because look at I'm the evidence of this. The
Mhm,
whole way that you all relate to a religion is evidence of me being able to guide a being and how to properly
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, can I interject one thought? Just
Sure.
one really quickly. I won't be loquacious. So I had a client who go through great lengths to find me today. So just to give you a little bit background on this client got pregnant by her own son. And so of course, me being who I am, yes, I had to report her. Yes, she had to go to jail. Yes, I had to break client privilege, and
Mhm.
report because I'm a mandated reporter.
Right.
And
Same here.
that was some years ago, and she even tried to sue me. But I had to. I told her that in the beginning of therapy, or she told me something like that. Well, long story short, we had to go through to see if this was her husband's baby or her son's baby, and it was actually her son's baby, not her husband's baby. So that makes the daddy. I never thought about it. Makes the daddy the daddy, the granddaddy, daddy, whatever. Because
Yeah.
in the state of Illinois, once the father, if you're married, he's automatically father, and he signed the birth certificate. So by law, her husband's the dad, but her son is the biological father. Okay,
Mhm.
now I said all that. So she went through hell and high water to find me. And I guess that she's on home monitoring now. And she cannot be around any children, not even her own.
Mhm.
Um, so she wanted to call and thank me. She says, because I never
Mhm.
judged her. She has no idea what ran through my brain. But I think that what the thing I want to share with you that ran through my brain the most was this somebody's child. This is I'm talking,
Mhm.
she grown, but this is somebody's child. I'm talking to the child in her that never healed, the
Mhm.
child in her that was molested by her own father.
Mhm.
And so to
Mhm.
show her son love, that's what she did, and she got pregnant
Mhm.
by her son. So, you know, I don't have to have a judgment. I don't have to have a feeling. I could just do my job, but show her the compassion to hear her, and yes, use cognitive behavioral therapy and RBT therapy to help her see
Right.
what she did was wrong. But she tracked me down today to say that she really, out of all the people that she's come in contact, she's never forgot me because I did not make her feel any less than a person. I made her
Mhm.
feel like a human being that needed help. And I thought that was so awesome. This lady gave me the flu flux. I don't know
No
if I had to
kidding.
karate chop her in the throat or what I had to do,
Mhm.
but I still kept a level of professionalism to know that I'm talking to a child as grown as
Mhm.
she is and has some compassion because She was doing the best she knew to do.
Yeah, because she was wounded. Yeah,
because she was wounded.
Deeply wounded. Yeah.
So when you think about compassion, and you start seeing people doing things that they should not be doing, remember that there is something broken. It's just like if we see a schizophrenic on the street, we know he got schizophrenia. We ain't trying to really make it any harder for them. Same way when we see broken pieces in people and have that compassion to say, instead of cussing them out, saying, there's just something else going on, honey. And even if you can be kind enough to just be silent, you don't have to say nothing. Be quiet. Let them have their moment to talk. I think that's sometimes the most compassionate thing a person like me could do, because sometimes, look, you don't always know what you're going to get from me sometimes, but I'm getting better. So I'm just saying that to say that happened to me today, and we had this lesson today. And I just thought that was important, that we just kind of look beyond what is in front of us with a person, because there's always something a little bit deeper. If share.
That is part of compassion. Is looking beyond what's in front of us to understand what's at the heart of a person, even if you don't know what it is, but to have some sense of connection to a person that helps define you as one human relating to another. I think that's a huge part of compassion. And I've had similar experiences where compassion has helped distinguish relationships I've had with people, to support them in their path, and honestly, when people support me in my path, people have had compassion for me in my life so that I can grow and evolve to be a better human being than I was the day before that. And so that level of compassion is super important, and defining compassion in that way, I think, is also super important. So I think that's a beautiful thing to end on. I was going to do the tongue twisty dada song to end us on, but I think ending it with that conversation is probably better. To leave with these thoughts and feelings, and connections with each other. I think that's better. We'll always have time to do tongue twisty songs for dada. There's only a few that people sing generally, so we'll always have time for that. But I'm glad we made time to talk and connect with each other's stories and insights. Thank you so much. I scheduled a prayer service for tomorrow morning. I'm debating whether to keep it. We haven't done it in a while, but I'm debating because I have stuff to do for an initiation that I'm going to be godparent for coming up. So I'm debating whether I need to just focus on that. So I may cancel it tonight, but I'm still going to keep them monthly. So if we have a chance to do it in August, we'll go for it and do it in August. But I'm thinking for this month, and we've had a lot of activity this month for those of you who've been able to participate. We've had a lot going on this month. So I think with all of that, I'm gonna likely, I might cancel. So don't be surprised if you see a cancellation for tomorrow's prayer service that we have normally on Saturdays. All right, teas. And if anyone has any questions or about anything that we have coming up. Sure.
So for Ogun, is there any gin in particular that you know that